11:30, I start hearing that sound in my sleep. It's like, oh man, it's almost time. Anyways, I feel a little bit better being up here. Who's ready to talk about the Word of God for a little while this morning? It is such an amazing time to step back and really look at why we believe what we believe. I mean, if October 2020 is not a season to really reflect on why we make the decisions we make, why we shape our lives the way we shape our lives, when is, right? Because it seems like all of our decisions are in question this year in 2020, right? It doesn't matter whether it's our COVID response or how we feel. Has a disease ever been politicized so much in our lives? Is it and then there's the choices that we're going to be making, or many of us maybe already have made when it comes to our election. Why do we make the choices that we make? And for many, unfortunately not all, but many Christians in our culture, those choices are based on what we call a biblical worldview. A worldview, we've done teachings on these kind of things in the past, but a worldview is basically a set of presuppositions that we make, a group of values that we hold that determine for us how we see the world. And it doesn't matter whether you're a Christian or not. We all have a worldview. Buddhists have a worldview. Atheists have a worldview. Creationists have a worldview. Evolutionists have a worldview. Everybody has one. That is the one thing you can't get away from, because even the view that you don't have a worldview is, in fact, a worldview. You can't escape it. We're all going to have, for lack of a better way of describing it, a set of glasses that we put on, and the tint of those lenses determines how we see the world. For some of us, if we grew up with a secular education, our worldview is that 14 billion years ago, there was nothing. And then that nothing exploded. And then, from that nothing explosion, something happened. And everything on this planet is basically nothing more than chemical reactions, accidents, baking soda and vinegar. And when that is our worldview, we have to ask ourselves the question, then why do we make some of the choices that we make? If all we are is a bunch of chemical reactions, cosmic accidents, then why are things like morality and moral choices such a big deal to everybody from every walk of life? Why is it inherently wrong, for instance, to walk up to somebody on the street, pull out a gun, and shoot them in the face? Why is that wrong? That is just one chemical reacting with another chemical, is it not? No, that would offend all of us. That would be horribly wrong. We know this to be true because not long ago we had the case of a couple of police officers in a car, and someone walked up to their squad car and started firing it, and he killed those officers when they had done nothing. And we were just absolutely abhorrent at the concept of that happening. Why? If we're all just cosmological accidents, then why? And when it comes to things like an election year, or any election year, and you have to make decisions that, let's face it, not all of them are technically policy decisions, right? Not every decision that we make in an election is about how much the government does or does not take out of our wallets. It's just not the case. It's not all about taxes. Some of it is, right? Some of us have a belief the government should be big and take care of us from cradle to the grave. Some of us have a belief the government should be small and stay out of our lives. That is a great decision that exists. But not every decision that is on the ballot November 3rd is a policy decision. Some of them are actual morality decisions. In America, because it's not settled law, it's simply court precedent, issues like abortion are a morality decision. And the basis of that view is all about when life begins. Does life begin at conception? Or for a long period of time, are we just clumps of cells, not a person, not an actual individual being, and that clump of cells can be discarded for the convenience of the people who created that clump of cells? That's a morality decision that exists. For Christians, we don't base our morality choices on how we feel. In fact, I was having a conversation with somebody recently, and they said, I can't base what I'm doing on what my gut's telling me. I have to base what I'm doing on facts. That's very, very similar for the way Christians make their decisions. The issue is, where do we get our facts? And there's a lot of people in the world today on the other side of the aisle that think it is silly, cretinous, unintellectual, unsophisticated to make decisions based on something written in a book dating back 1,500, 2,000 years. It's unsophisticated. Humanity has been enlightened since then. But as Christians, we make this decision that the ultimate source of truth in our lives is a collection of 66 books written by over 40 authors over a period of nearly 1,500 years. And that in and of itself, to many people in our modern age, is unthinkable. Why would we do that? We can come up with all kinds of reasons if we want to study it out. We can determine that that book, as many good scholars have done, is the most reliable text when it comes to science, when it comes to history, when it comes to anthropology, of anything that has come out of the ancient world. Antiquity has nothing better. Egyptian medical theory was if you got a sliver, to put donkey dung on it. So after you got lockjaw or you died from tetanus, that was their theory. Written at the same time by Moses, somebody who grew up in the Pharaoh's household, comes the rules for clean and unclean that come out of the book of Leviticus. And what does it say? It says that they should wash with the hyssop plant. And it isn't until centuries later that we find out, oh wait, hyssop contains a natural disinfectant inside. How did Moses know that when he didn't even know what germs were? It's almost predictive of future truth. In fact, the Bible does that a lot. These 66 books written by over 40 different authors, they do something that no other book from antiquity can do. A lot of people don't understand this, but after the fall of Alexander the Great, we talked about this recently, he gave his empire, when he died, basically when they asked, what are you going to do with your empire? He said, let it go to the strong. And so his 4 generals, they divided up his empire. And 2 of those guys, the Ptolemies and the Seleucids, they went to war over 2 big portions of that empire. And Ptolemy, he decided he was going to build a great library in Alexandria, Egypt. It became one of the 7 wonders of the world, right? And because he wanted all the possible books that he could possibly have in that library, he commissioned 70 Hebrew scholars to gather the Hebrew texts from antiquity and to translate them into the Greek language, which was the lingua franca at the time. This did something to verify our faith by secular rulership that was unbelievable, because the entire Old Testament was translated from ancient Hebrew into Koine Greek 250 years before Jesus was ever born. Why is that important? Because that Old Testament is documented to contain 108 unique prophecies about where this one called the Jewish Messiah, Mashiach ben David, would be born, would be named, where he would live, that he would have to flee to Egypt from a king that was seeking to kill him, that he would be betrayed, that he would do miracles, and how he would die by crucifixion, which is very interesting because the Hebrews didn't kill people by crucifixion. They killed them by stoning. It was the Persians that invented crucifixions. It was the Romans who perfected it. And yet 250 years before Jesus was ever born, 108 unique prophecies about his life were written not just in Hebrew, but were taken from Hebrew and translated into Greek at the behest of a secular king who did not believe in the Hebrew religion. And then Jesus came, and he fulfilled all of them. Every one. Forever proving that this weird little book, 66 books, 40 different authors, over a period of 1,500 years, it could do something that no other book from ancient history could do. It could tell the future. And you see, there's something really interesting about that. And that is the fact that for every single prophecy of Jesus' first coming, there are 8 in the Bible for his second coming. And if he went to the trouble of fulfilling all of those prophecies about his first coming literally the first time, who are we to say that he doesn't want to fulfill all the more prophecies of his coming the second time? That puts us in a unique place because the Bible also claims a lot of moral high ground. In fact, it says that what is contained in that book, the story and the personage in it, is the way, the truth, and the life. Why, as someone who takes great joy in seeing people going from spiritual infancy to spiritual maturity, a process we call making disciples, why is it necessary to have somebody like Michelle stand up here and articulate her faith? Because the Christian religion demands 2 things. The first thing that it demands is exclusivity. Jesus says that there is no way to the Father except through him. He says there is no way to the Father except through him. He is the only way. And that the gateway to eternity, the gateway to what exists beyond this realm that we are experiencing right now, is through what he says and what he teaches. And then the second thing that it demands is evangelism. Evangelism is when Jesus says, "Go ye into all the world and preach the good news," making disciples and teaching them to obey everything that I have commanded you. He's the only way, and we have to tell other people about him. That's what our faith demands. But when Jesus also says, "Thou shalt not kill," when Jesus also has a problem in the Old Testament with pagan religions that involved a god named Molech, one of the kings of the Babylonian gods. You know why he hated him so much, that evil pagan god? Because he was a god whose idol had a big basin in his hands. And that basin was filled with burning coals. And the way that the Babylonians worshipped that god, that deity, was to take their infant babies and to put them into that fire. And God calls that an abomination. Why is it not somebody's choice about what to do with what's inside of them? Because God goes a step forward. That's a living baby. Okay, we could make the case that we can't have, near-term abortions from that standpoint. But God goes to the next level. He says to Jeremiah, he says, before you were in your mother's womb, I knew you. If God knew us before we were in the womb, don't you think he knew us when we're in the womb? See, Christians make the choices that they make. They choose the political candidates that they choose. They have a worldview that suggests this is why we believe what we believe. It's called an ultimate standard of truth. That ultimate standard of truth means there is no truth that is higher that can be appealed to. If morality is just based on what is for the biggest common good of the most amount of people, it is still arbitrary. It's a roll of the dice. But if morality is based on an ultimate truth, then it can't change from place to place. What the Bible says in English is the same thing the Bible says in Dutch, or German, or French, or Swahili. It's constant. But we've seen proof over the centuries that certain cultures can think it's perfectly morally okay to wipe out other cultures. It's called genocide. Why is that morally wrong? The majority of that culture felt that it was right. Why is it wrong? Because it denies a higher standard of truth. It denies an ultimate standard of truth. There are things in our reality that are called moral laws. You shall not steal. Why? I wanted it, I took it. Why is that wrong? Well, society says it's wrong. Why does society say it's wrong? Well, we just do. It's in our Constitution or it's in our laws. Why is it in there? At some point, you have to be able to trace it back to an ultimate standard of truth. And that ultimate standard of truth has to be self-authenticating. It has to prove itself to be true. And look what I documented for you. The Bible, through secular history, documents itself to be true. Because it can predict the future. It has predicted the future. Why do we make the decisions that we make? It sounds simplistic to say because God said so. That's not a good enough answer. We can say that if we've got 30 seconds. But as disciples of Christ, what we need to be able to do is to say, because God said so, and this is where. This is how. One of the most important things I can ever instill in any of you, and that's why we're working so hard, that's why we're almost a year into understanding the dark portions of Scripture like Revelation that are so apocalyptic in nature, so weird in nature. But the deeper we go, the more we learn, right? The more amazing things that come out of it. Because this book, it's our ultimate standard of truth. It's where we get our values. It's not about us, because if there is to be a true moral law, then by logical necessity, there must be a moral lawgiver. Just the way that it works. So as we make our decisions that are coming up, I'm not telling you what to do or where to go. That's not my role. What I am saying is it is a good time for us to step back and think about why we make the decisions we make in life in general. Who are we serving? Because the Bible reveals that there is one true king. The Bible reveals that there is one true ruler of the earth. And one day he's going to come. One day he's going to return and he's going to take what's his. And to those that followed him, he's going to say, well done, thou good and faithful servant. And to those that didn't, there are going to be consequences. But this beautiful thing of the story Michelle told in first session this morning is that between now and then, we don't have to get it right. We just have to get Jesus right. We can be transformed at the feet of his cross. We can be born again through the tomb that was opened, that he's not. I've been to Israel. I've looked inside the tomb. Good news. It's empty. He's not there. The best news that we can give to the world around us, that we can share with our friends and our family when we go out of here, or at every opportunity that we have to stand in front of the world and stand up for the truth, is we're not doing this because we like one political candidate better than another. We're doing it because we have a moral obligation to make sure that our decision-making is the decision-making of our King. That's why we do it. That's why we choose to live our lives the way that we choose them, because we're not our own. We're bought with a price. We gave up our right to make our own decisions when we admitted, hey, we're not perfect and we need somebody to bail us out of this mess that we're in. And in doing that, we just say, everything from here on out is about you, God. I'll do it your way. I submit myself to you. I am willingly a bondservant. As one of the scriptures said, not I. I am crucified with Christ, and yet I live. Not I, but Christ who lives within me. Our goal is to be a reflection of Him to the world around us. Does that make sense? That's why we do what we do. Let's close with prayer. Well, Father, we stand before you in this place and we commit the coming days, the coming weeks to you. We pray for travel mercies on any of us who have to travel. Keep us safe. We pray for health. In Jesus' name, you have overcome this virus. It need not destroy our lives. It need not destroy the economies of the world around us, because you beat it 2,000 years ago. The Bible says that by your stripes we were healed, past tense. Give wisdom to doctors. Help those who are sick. Bring comfort to those who are grieving. One death is too many. Father, as we go out into this world this week, as we share our faith with those that we work with, that we love, may they see in our eyes that it isn't about ever thinking that we are superior than anyone else. It's about wanting to share the true, passionate love that you have put into our hearts with them. So that when they're laying in bed at night, the moonlight shining through the Venetian blinds and the shadows are dancing on the ceiling and the big questions of life come up, instead of having a lack of hope, they can hear your voice and they can know that there are answers. In Jesus' name, the people of God said. Guys, as always, the offering is in the back. Please be cheerful givers, or click that Learn More button on our Facebook page, access our giving portal, and help us out online. This was the last of our current live cycle, so that means next week is a Circle Sunday. That is your time to share your testimonies, your fellowship, all of those good things. And remember, next week is also the time to fall back. So the days are going to get a little bit shorter. With that, I just want to tell you I love you. Go with God. And we'll be back in 2 weeks for more of our Revelation series. Get your homework done.